So for this series, we're going to be analyzing a series that I kind of saw, but this was one of the series that occurred late at night that I was not working. So this is going to be more so just talking about my impressions of the draft rather than talking about how the game ends up playing out. I honestly don't remember exactly who wins both games, other than the fact that RNG is going to win the third game. So I kind of go into this game not knowing who's going to win. Obviously, whoever wins this, the opposite team wins the second game. Because this is a game or a 3-game series. So interesting that both these teams prioritize Drow so highly. I know Geek Fam loves playing it, but they first banned it. They are afraid of its second pick. It looks like they don't want to first overall pick it, but they want it to be here. They are scared of it being here. And Razor. I think that's to enable Omni Knight. But then this is interesting. So they ban Razor. And then Rubik's like the best support in the game versus Omni Knight. So they know that this was to pick Omni. And they respond with Disruptor Omni regardless. So they prioritize Omni over highly enough that they're willing to pick it into a support that's very good against it. Abad and Omni, just two of the most popular heroes of this tournament, as we've talked about time and time again. But this is an interesting little meta thing here, where they ban the Razor last ban, so they don't have a reactionary ban on Geek Fam. So then they first pick Rubik just in preparation for Omni. So that's kind of cool little things you can see here. Slark and Naga. I'd say Slark is just a hard lane counter to this. Rubik Abaddon. And then Naga Siren goes really well with Disruptor. So that's why they ban those. OD is really hard for Omni to play against. I don't know if you guys have seen that matchup, but I've played it a couple times at pubs. That shit is garbage for Omni Knights. So they go with Lich, another popular 5 position right now. Pretty much the cream of the crop in terms of 5 positions. I now remember who wins this game, but I'm not going to talk about that. Not a huge fan of Witch Doctor. This hero is not meta, in my opinion, for good reason. In the past, he's used as a Maledict spammer against strength offlaners who, are previously hard to have enough damage to kill, but are easy to bring down to 200-300 health, like the Tidehunters of the world. So Maledict finishes them off. But Omni Knight's just not one of those heroes. He has a lot of sustain in himself, and Maledict is based off of how much HP you started with, not how much damage you took. So if I take 300 damage and then heal 300 damage, Maledict ticks effectively do 0. Based on that component of the damage. PL, pretty broken hero right now. Very good PL game so far. They respond with their counter to PL being the Leshrac. I think Leshrac has had good reason not to be picked. I think the 5-minute shrines really hurt this hero a lot. The removal of that. So keeping in mind, that's what I think is the problem with Leshrac right now. It's funny that they banned Lifestealer, because in the past, Lifestealer was traditionally very bad against PL. But teams have seemed very content picking Lifestealer into PL. And the team that had PL banned it. So they counter PL with Lesh Mag. So my impression is that PL against heroes like Mag is just going to send illusions at you and burn your mana. And then against heroes like Leshrac, you just get 2 or 3 items and you don't care about them anymore. And this is just not enough to deal with him. And they also have the counters to Mag with Frost Armor, as well as the Guardian Angel. And now they have another whole team fight tankiness ability. I'm going to be honest, I remember who wins this game, so it's not exactly fair in terms of my objectivity. But I think in this tournament, PL was just one of the standout heroes of the tournament. What happened was Slark was kind of the standout hero of this patch. And then people realized that you can counter Slark with Naga and PL. And I think through that realization, people were like, holy shit, if I pick PL, what do they pick? Because even if there's a hero that's in the carry role that's quote-unquote good against PL, it's not a good hero, in general. So you have to sacrifice a lot to counter this PL. And it seems like teams are going, even safe lane Leshrac. That's what I mean by you have to sacrifice a lot. You're picking a hero that's supposedly good against PL, but you're not picking a good carry hero. So I'm almost certain RNG wins this game. Let's just make sure. And they did. So I like their... pretty much if it's a good PL game this patch, in this tournament, I would favor that team, almost certainly. Similar bans to last game in terms of the Razor IO, but now we're mixing it up. You know, we're gonna analyze this first round bans because these are interesting first round bans. Most of the first round bans have been pretty consistent. So they're ready to first pick Omni. That's what this says. IO is just broken. Then they banned Timbersaw right here. Okay, I'm gonna reload the replay. Can't see the last two bans. So they're really like setting up for a lot of their first round picks. So like Razor, Timber are both really good against like Doom Omni. So like they're banning out heroes here that are like good against what's banned. Or bad against what's banned, excuse me. Then they actually banned this is a really cool ban. So then they banned Batrider, who's like the really hard 1-to-1 support counter to Treant. So they banned Bat, and then they interpret that as them wanting to pick Tree. So this is like a very fascinating draft in terms of the first round of bans back and forth. Sometimes this happens, and that's very interesting. The bans, based on my experience in teams, can be very game-winning or game-losing if you miss a ban in this first round. Like, if they ban Bat, and you don't ban Tree, and then they pick Tree, and there's, like, no way to lane against Tree very well, like, hypothetically, if that were an example in a patch, then you can almost already lose the draft in the first round of bans. So that's pretty cool. So pay attention to those. We already said they're alley-ooping the Omni Knight with his Razor Timbersaw ban. They go for the Puck Rubik, so Rubik again to counter the Omni Knight. And Puck, I think in general, is just nice against heroes like Omni Knight. They lack catch. You can jump them, burst them. You can force them to use spells defensively and then disengage. Lich honestly doesn't really stand out to me that much about being good against these heroes. But it is just a good hero in general. They ban out the Abaddon for good reason. We've been seeing that. TA, whenever people are picking Puck and they intend to put it mid, they seem to be banning TA and or DK. DK is not really a super meta hero right now, so sometimes it goes through without getting banned. We're seeing again banning the OD with Omni Knight on your team, showing that if this hasn't explained to you already, that Omni Knight's very bad against OD and something to pick against Omni Knight in pubs. Keep that in mind. Disrupt their ban, pretty standard. Go for this third pick Slark. We've seen this be pretty effective a couple times this patch. The nice thing about Slark here is that PL is really the hard counter in the carry role, and Puck is really good against PL because you can't doppel during the leash. You can't really threaten the Puck until you have Abyssal Blade, and Puck makes it really hard for you to fight in the early to mid game because of the AoE nukes as well. So Puck, very good hero against PL. In the past, when PL was super broken like 2 years ago, and I was picking it with Team VGJ, we were first round banning Puck in order to enable the PL pick. So even though in the past you used to be able to doppel while you were coiled, you would still get stunned when you landed outside of the leash. So they go for the Chen, basically securing this Slark's lane. The Shaman is like a stun that they wanted to have against these two elusive heroes, 2 instant disable, or like 1 instant disable and then a lot of time to stun. But honestly, if you don't stun these 2 heroes, you're going to get your shackles canceled. That's one thing I don't like about this pick right here. 2 very reliable shackle cancelers. And they choose to go for the Ember Spirit, who I feel like is actually countered by Puck pretty hard nowadays because you can't use any of your spells defensively, the Slide as well as the Remnant, when you are ulted by Puck. And Slark is the same thing, goes for his Pounce. They ban the Bloodseeker to make it really hard for the Slark. Bloodseeker is usually pretty good in lane versus Puck as well, so it could have been Bloodseeker mid. And then they ban the Huskar because they have Ember Spirit mid. Pretty much a game-ruining pick if you play Ember Spirit into Huskar. And they go for the carry Riki. I actually really like the carry Riki as a concept, and at the beginning of this patch, I kind of gave this hero less credit than I think it deserved, but the fact is he has 62 base damage, 5 HP regen, and survivability tools. So I don't think he really wins the lane, like meaning he doesn't do anything to like bully you. But he doesn't lose the lane, so I think that fits him into the description of carry really well. And I was trying this out in my pub yesterday. I didn't play it very well in the later stages of the game, just with inexperience of playing this hero. But people are either going to Fusel first item or they're going Battle Fury. because your third spell actually procs Battle Fury on creep wave. So you have like a 12-second creep wave clear from Invis, and then also you 12-second cooldown, that is. And then you also have the ability to jungle with the Battle Fury. Without the Battle Fury, you're not able to jungle at all. So it's interesting. The hero scales really well naturally with all of his talents, as well as just the kit that he has. And it's really good against Slark Puck. And they go for the Underlord. I think Underlord's really nice against Omni. It lanes really well against Omni if you ever do that, but usually you don't see that nowadays. But in general, you just have like AoE control team fight that's hard to engage into. And even if somebody's heavenly graced, all of what Underlord does is still very good against you. The damage over time, the negative damage aura. Yeah, the root lasts a little bit less time, or obviously a lot less time, but the root's probably like the second or third like conceptual strength of Underlord. His other abilities are much more significant for what he does in the game. I honestly think both drafts have a lot of merit. I think this Riki was a really good pick against Slark Puck, and I think RNG should have honestly won this game. This game was pretty throwy, though. The Riki team was down by 10,000 gold at some point, and then they were up by like 20,000 gold at another point. And then they lost. Geek Fam won this game. So this game was a huge back and forth. Nice graphs we got there. Check it out, though. It was a good game. If you want to see carry Riki and learn how to play it. I think it's something we'll see much more as time progresses. Okay, game 3 of RNG versus Geek Fam. Pretty standard first round bans this time around. They literally banned all 3 strong dispels. This is almost disrespecting RNG, saying you can't play without these heroes. I think this is a nice like theory crafted way to say, RNG, you haven't played a single game this entire tournament without one of these 3 heroes. Let's see what you do without them. So I find that to be entertaining, to say the least. Go for the first pick, Puck, because Setsu's Puck's insane, so they kind of deny picking it. Instant disable against Puck, and then Venge is really good with Puck, because you can swap people out of the coil, and Venge is just a good hero in general, I think. So it's like a deny pick as well as just a, good pick for them. They go for the Disruptor, not bad against Venge, because you can glimpse the person that gets swapped out. It's also just a really good hero, and good teamfight combination with Puck. TA once again getting banned when we see Puck picks. Drow obviously has to be considered a ban when you have a Vengeful Spirit in the game. Naga Siren. This was probably going to be Naga Siren PL if they didn't ban Drow here. You have to ban both of them, honestly. Naga Siren goes really well with Disruptors, so this is a very interesting choice by RNG. Usually you'd say, okay, we're going to be banning Naga Siren and PL. Ban PL right here. And we'll ban Naga next to set up our Drow. But then what if they just ban Drow? And you're like, well, we're not worried about Naga Siren anymore. But Naga goes really well with Disruptor. So we should still ban it anyway. So this is like a really nice ordering of bans here. I'm almost certain this would have been a PL ban if this was not a Drow ban. So it's really fine niche stuff like that I have learned to appreciate in drafting, because from personal experience, if you mess this up where you are banning PL Naga if you were going to pick Drow, and you ban PL first instead of Naga, it just ruins the draft. Like, that's pretty insane to me that level of like such a small mistake can ruin the draft. So very interesting stuff when you think about it. So Centaur, honestly, I hate this pick in regards to what it's against. Glimpse, Disruptor is good against any hero that relies on running away. Coil counters Centaur Stampede as well. This was a weird pick to me. I actually thought this was like really bad. Centaur, I think, is like a decent hero, but against the 2 heroes seen so far, it just didn't make sense to me that was what they decided to pick. I would have been more inclined to just pick like Lifestealer, because you ban Slark and you can just pick Lifestealer. Could go off lane, could go safe lane. I don't think they play it off lane though. Then they counter with the Bat. They go with SF, one of the better heroes with Venge, the range bonus, the stats. Frontliner, I think SF's just a really good hero right now, more so. And since you already see what's most likely the mid laner, almost certainly, you're very inclined to pick your mid laner here instead of a carry. So this draft for me looks really good for Geek Fam, to be honest with you. Like I don't like this Centaur pick. PL in a really good PL game. Batrider owns all of these heroes except for the Venge swap to save. They go for the Beastmaster. Just another lockdown that probably should have a pretty decent lane. And if I honestly look at these drafts, I think Geek Fam has heavily won this draft. Like I think there's a lot of team fight on RNG, and I think SF is just a really good hero right now. And maybe I just have to give more credit to this hero in general. Like if just having this hero in a lineup that can fight, and if he gets BKB, he's unkillable pretty much. When I say unkillable, he's unkillable for like 25 to 30 minutes of the game before they get enough damage to kill him during BKB. But RNG really represents a really fast pace this game, but I would be concerned with them because they're against a Batrider in lane with no heroes to counter the Batrider in terms of the sticky napalm. But they do have the Rubik in lane, which is pretty decent against Bat to lift him away from you if you're flying on top. And obviously they have the Venge swap later. So by no means is Bat like the perfect pick, but I thought the lanes were really good for Geek Fam. So for all these reasons, I actually think Geek Fam had the better draft. But as you see here, RNG just crushed the lanes, crushed the game, like just ran over them. So I honestly didn't see the first 5 minutes of this game. I tuned into the game when it was already over. So the fact is, no matter how the drafts look, if one team outsmarts the other in the first 5 minutes, so if you're wondering about all the things I just said and you feel like, how the hell did RNG pull this off? This would be a great game to watch for the first couple minutes to see what they did, because that really decided the game. So I'm going to be skipping the Gambit versus Nigma. I've done almost every Nigma series, and I'd say out of the last 3, this is the best one to skip. So let's go ahead and load Geek Fam versus Nigma. What's your opinion on the new matchmaking system? Seems good so far. Yesterday I played like 7 or 8 pubs, and every single one of them was like top 300 players exclusively. So to me, that says a lot already. So I think at this point in the tournament, Team Nigma has really like come together in what they want to do in these games. Like they've kind of found their identity. Yeah, they're not playing as clean as I'd want them to play, in terms of the caliber of these players. But I think at the start of this tournament, they were struggling to get their footing in terms of like what drafts they should go for and like the way to make their play style work in this current meta. I think Puck punishes the way Team Nigma likes to play, the split push catch, the passiveness on the map in the early stages of the game, and obviously Geek Fam has been using it a lot. This hero really good for Team Nigma. Doom they've been picking in every game as well, and then Lich actually, as the tournament went on, Lich just went from like virtually ignored to like second round pick to first round every game almost. So they ban the Omni, they get the Abaddon themselves, they go for the Rubik Chen. Nothing really too standoutish right now until this pick. So nice thing to learn here is what they think they're afraid of when they pick this PL. So you see Leshrac is their first ban. With the Leshrac Chen, that could be a pretty nice combo. I actually like Leshrac specifically with Chen, because you can expend all of your mana farming, go TP to base, and then Chen can recall you to fights. The problem with Leshrac early is he can't fight and farm efficiently. So I think Chen's really the only hero in the game that alleviates that problem. Earthshaker as well. I actually think Abaddon's really hard to play against Earthshaker. Abaddon's really good when they have like 1 stun and you purge it and you win the fight because you purged it. But Earthshaker has like a bajillion stuns. So I think Earthshaker's actually kind of nice against Abaddon, and then obviously respectably good against PL. They ban the OD. I was going to say, like, OD doesn't make too much sense about a ban, but when they're going to third pick Timbersaw, OD ban makes a lot more sense. And then SF's just a really good hero with Abaddons and Omnis, and just a good hero in general. They go for the ET against the Timbersaw. I'd say in lane it's pretty good, but it's obviously just another strength hero. And once Timbersaw gets, like, level 3 to 5, he doesn't really care that much about ET anymore. Timbersaw, one of the most annoying heroes for PL to play against. Once PL gets, like, 3 or 4 slotted, you kind of just kill the Timbersaw, burn all of his mana. But before that, Timbersaw makes it really hard for you to play Dota. And then they go for Slark, which to me was a weird pick, because Slark is literally countered by PL. So the way I view this pick is that there's not very many heroes in the meta right now that are good for the carry role. And because you already have what you think is the counter to PL, you go for the Slark hero because you're like, he's a really good carry. He's good against the other two heroes in the game right now, and we've already dealt with this PL. They go for the Necro. One of my favorite heroes against Slark specifically. It's not that bad against Timbersaw. Timbersaw is a hero that relies on being at like 30% HP if you try to kill him, meaning like you don't have enough damage to finish him off. So Necro is pretty good for that. So pretty solid Necro game, all things considered, but they are very light on stuns. They banned the Disruptor because they're worried about the catch. Like, they really only lack catch on Team Nigma right now, so they do ban the Disruptor in fear of that. Not sure that it could be an offlane Abaddon, mid Necro, and safe lane PL, so that's why they give credit to the support. They banned the Ember Spirit because Ember is also another very good hero against PL and also punishes their lack of disables. Obviously, Weehaw, Wind Ranger, nothing special here. So they go for the Sand King. Just another hero to make it really hard to play PL. The magic damage is really nice against Necro. The elusiveness is nice against no stuns other than with Shackle. And it's also another hero to help initiate onto the Wind Ranger. Because Geek Fam was kind of light on stuns themselves. So this is, overall, in my opinion, a very good last pick Sand King. Sand King, not a hero we really see that much right now. But I think this game specifically was a very good Sand King game. I heavily favored Geek Fam's draft in this one. And to be honest, I think both drafts... I think Nigma's draft was better than I gave it credit for. But I thought the lanes were just going to be such a problem for Team Nigma. I thought Miracle was going to have a tough time fighting in the mid game. I thought the lanes were going to be really rough. They have no way to lane against Timbersaw. Like, yeah, Necro, Wind Ranger. Like, Wind Ranger, when she gets Javelin, Maelstrom can, like, kill the Timbersaw with Focus Fire. But before that, they have no way to deal with this Timber in laning stage. And then they have no stuns for Slark, Sand King. So I kind of thought, hey, Slark, Sand King are just going to reap the map of farm. Geek Fam has 3 very greedy cores, and it's going to go unpunished. That's kind of what I thought. And to be honest, I think Carl had a big impact on this game being a loss. When you're a hero like Timbersaw and you're strong, it's really important to have that discipline to know that if you're with your team, you're unkillable. And when you're not, you risk just feeding away a massive lead. Geek Fam was quite far ahead this game, had complete map control, but Team Nigma played it really well, to be honest. If you want to see what you're supposed to do in a game when you're not able to fight the opponent, watch this game. Like, Team Nigma played it incredibly well in that regard. So, I think you can learn a lot from the mistakes of Geek Fam in this game. Like, if you're the team that's really strong and the opponent can't fight you, watching the mistakes they make in terms of their deaths is really good to watch. And then if you want to learn how to play the team that's not supposed to fight, this is a great game to watch Nigma pull back from a lead where it just looked insurmountable. Okay, going into game 2, we have Team Nigma versus Geek Fam. Team Nigma won game 1. They actually banned the ET, oddly enough. Pretty standard bans otherwise. Slark's a bit interesting. I think Slark causes serious issues for Doom in lane, and teams are realizing that if they want to pick Doom first and it's available, Slark being banned is pretty important. So I almost think, like, if they didn't ban Slark here, this would be, like, not a Doom, basically. But instead, they... or, you know, I'm going to word it this way. I think Team Nigma was content getting Abaddon or Doom, and they didn't want to pick that hero into a second pick Slark. I'm pretty sure this is why. Like, they didn't want a first round Slark here, but Slark's a nice 4th overall pick where the Rubik is, and I think that's why they banned it here. I'm not 100% sure why pick Shaker here, but, you know, it is GH Shaker, so sometimes you just don't need any or more explanation than that. They ban out the best meta hero left in the game for carry role, as well as Miracle has proven time and time again this tournament that PL is really hard for to beat when in his hands. They ban out the Huskar because Team Nigma has been like 2nd, 3rd picking it, honestly, or 3rd, 4th picking it, I mean. Then they ban out the Weaver. Interestingly enough, Weaver's very good against Abaddon and very good against Bat. So it's kind of like a weird ban, but in terms of this specific game, it makes a lot of sense based on this 3rd pick Bat Rider. And I'm assuming whatever they were going to pick here, they knew wasn't good against Weaver. So another hero that's not that great against Weaver, the Ember. Yeah, you can chains him, but he can just time-lapse at any point. This Coddle pick was a bit strange to me. I honestly have no validation for it. Just a very weird pick. Like, I feel like Disruptor would have just been better right here. Like, why not pick Disruptor, right? Disruptor is incredibly good against Bat because Bat's purely about mobility and fogging you, and Disruptor prevents both those things. Unpurgeable. The Glimpse is not purgeable, so it's good against a Batten. And counter initiation against a hero like Shaker, you're like a combo breaker. So the panel was talking about that they theory crafted this is like a pseudo Disruptor, where you have like this AoE counter initiation ultimate, but like in my opinion, it's just not the same. Not even close. And then Lifestealer. I honestly like this game for Lifestealer a lot. Super powerful hero in regards to just not dying this game. But they have like a whole lot of like not dying going on. But other than Doom, like there's just so much to deal with here, and it seems really hard for Geek Fam's lineup to fight. I don't really know how else to word it. And you notice here, even they think that. They're like, okay, how do they force a fight here? Can't we just disengage? We have so many mobile heroes. We have Fissure. We have a Batten to save. Like, we can just run away from this shit. So they ban a hero, even though it's pretty bad against Ember in the game with chains. They ban a hero that's like, you can't run away from. Which I really like this ban a lot, this Storm Spirit ban. And they go for the TA ban, because they pick Lina. Obviously, TA is a very hard counter to Lina in the laning stage. And it's also quite a good hero against Lifestealer. Something we've also talked about previously in this video, so. And they last pick... I just don't like Lina as a hero, by the way. I think Lina had very little success this tournament. And I think Lina's really hard to play against Windranger. I've played this matchup, I think, 2 or 3 times, only from the Lina perspective. And my experience was the lane goes, like, kind of even. And then the minute Windranger hits 6, she can just kill you anywhere. You can never stun her because of Windrun. Like, it's just too hard to hit a Lina stun on a Windranger. And the minute she gets Javelin plus Ultimate, she can literally kill you anywhere. You need Yules to be able to survive it, but there's this period of like 4 or 5 minutes where you don't have Yules, and Windranger just walks at you and kills you anytime she finds you. And it limits your farm a lot on Lina. It makes Lina really hard to play. If you get shackled at any given moment in the game, you just die. On a hero like Lina that's position-based and all that kind of stuff, and very awkward cast animations on all of her spells. So I like this pick for Weehaw a lot, and I hate to say it, it's hard to really bet against Miracle's Ember Spirit in this tournament. Very signature heroes for Team Nigma. This is what I like to call the signature hero draft. You have Miracle on Ember, you have Weehaw on Windranger, GH on the Earthshaker, which is very signature-esque type lineup for Nigma. I honestly thought Geek Fam's lineup has a chance, but this hero's underwhelming, this hero's underwhelming, and these heroes are just the signature heroes for Team Nigma. I think a Batten's really good right now. Batrider was super good in this specific game, and then, like I said, the 3 signature heroes. So I really liked Team Nigma's draft here. Going into the last and final series, guys. What can you pick other than Lina versus possible Ember mid? That's a good question. First off, Miracle's played Ember safely in all their games, so I guess you can account for the fact that it's potentially mid, but it just hasn't been the entire tournament. So it's kind of weird to like overreact to that kind of thing. But in general, like, there's a lot of heroes that lane fine against Ember. Lina by no means is a hero that you have to pick in order to counter the Ember Spear. Like, yeah, usually the ODs and such are going to be banned, but like, I don't know. It's like, if you're saying they're like picking it against Ember, I don't even have like a specific hero pool to pick there. You can kind of just pick whatever is good for the game and has like enough magic damage to get rid of Ember Shield and doesn't just straight up die to Ember. Usually any silences or stuns are good, meaning like a mid laner who has those. Heroes that don't rely on positioning for survivability, like the Pugnas, those are pretty bad against Ember Spirit. Yeah, there's like a lot of options. Like, I don't think you need to get crazy picky with that one specifically. So yeah, moving on to the finals. Yeah, Timber's just really good against what's good, pretty much. Which makes him way better than he already is. Okay. Going into the finals, best of 5, RNG versus Liquid. So far, other than this being targeted towards Mind Control and this being targeted towards Liquid, Team Nigma. RNG versus Team Nigma. Gosh, call them Liquid all the time. These 2 heroes are signature for them. Other than that, pretty standard bans. We even saw Team Nigma ban the Slark. last series as well. So they are not afraid to just ban this hero first round if they want to pick the Abaddons and Omni Knights of the world. So I think they overdid it here on Team Nigma. I almost think they were like, okay, RNG hasn't played without Abaddon Omni this entire tournament, pretty much. So let's just pick them both. And I think they just got wamboozled by this OD pick. Like, OD just owns these heroes. Like, it's so hard to play against. So what do you do against Abaddon Omni? You pick heroes that remove them from the fight, and you pick Kite, and you pick undispellable stuns or disables. By disables, I mean like Astral. I'd consider like not a disable, but not a stun. And then they go for this like Huskar pick to group up and be amped up by these heroes. And I just want you guys to see how RNG's draft basically just dissects this 5-man group up, run at you lineup. It's really cool. So like this is something you see in pubs where like you're not supposed to fight the opponent because they're just too strong as 5, but you can be more efficient on the map and then eventually have more items than them and eventually scale better than them. And so they go for another Shadow Demon ult, not purgeable. Shadow Demon Disruption, not purgeable. Removes heroes from the game. Kites, saves, save. Damage. So like now all they needed was to like enable all the damage from their team. So they have plenty of damage on RNG. They don't need disables. They don't actually need, when I say, okay, they don't actually need stuns. Because look at Nigma's draft here. Like, they don't have Pucks, Embers, PLs. They don't have these heroes that are elusive. They just have walk at you heroes. So they just pick stuff that helps kite these walk at you heroes and then deals enough damage to eventually outscale. And I just thought Team Nigma's draft was just way too one-dimensional here. And RNG, if you actually watch this game play out, they banned the PL, obviously. I was going to wait to have that shown because you have the Drow. And then they pick the be-all, end-all choose fights offlaner. And what I mean by that is, if you want to commit really hard to a fight, you stampede in. If a fight's really bad, you stampede out. So it's not only good for disengaging, but it's also really good for engaging with a lineup like this, which they did lack a lot of. So I just think RNG's draft conceptually counters these 3 heroes so hard. And now you have so much on the back of a Rubik against a bunch of single target saves against one single target disable. I just think this game was so hard for Team Nigma to win. And yeah, they go for this last pick Alk with the hope to like hit this mid-game timing. But I thought Team Nigma's win condition here was to like basically end the game at 25 minutes. But it's been proven this tournament that Drow just outscales these types of lineups. And it's been proven that unless you can actually kill the Drow early to mid-game, that she eventually gets the items she needs, and you get to that point of critical mass, and they win. So I really liked RNG's way of dissecting this draft, and if you want to see what it's like prime time to see a 5-man lineup that's scary as fuck, and just not fight it until you get the right items, and watch the way RNG itemizes this game. They know that their lineup innately does a lot of damage, so all they built was Kite. They built like 2 Hurricane Pikes, 2 Lincoln Spheres, like a Lotus Orb, you know, these types of things. 4 staves on the supports potentially. Like, all these items built by these heroes were in order to kite. And it was really cool to watch. Like, the whole team was clearly on the same page there. So I think RNG played an insanely good Game 1. So in my opinion, I did cast the first 3 games of this series. This is the game. This is the tournament. This is the game of the tournament. I'm not going to spoil other than, I mean, it's going to be known based on what we see here. Coming up in the next series or next game, you're going to see, you know, who won this game. But spoilers, turn it off for a second. Team Nigma does win this game. But this is like the game of the tournament. So if you want to watch one game, you get to see the 70-minute items this game. You get to see some crazy back-and-forth shenanigans. This was just a great game. I don't even want to analyze this draft, honestly. I just want to say, go watch this freaking game. Pretty standard pick so far. Team Nigma had just, I mean, PL's graduated to a first-round pick for them over the course of the tournament. I'm pretty sure they never lost with it. They ban out the Ember Spirit against the PL. We've seen that already. Ban out the OD against the Abaddon. Ban out the Huskar because Team Nigma has been picking that a lot. They banned the TA because that's also a Weehaw hero. It's pretty much like TA or Wind Ranger, and you have Doom, so Wind Ranger's not nearly as good. Underlord, damage mitigation, AoE root against PL. In an ideal world, it's really nice, but PL also just burns all of your mana, so it's kind of like nice in theory. And if you have a way to prevent PL from being able to fight eventually, then this is good. But I don't think Underlord's enough. I think he's pretty good against PL, but it's not by any means enough. Like, you're the hero that makes PL harder to play, but there also needs to be the hero that wins you the game. And so they go for Lifestealer. Monet's like one of his signature heroes. And since TA's banned, as well as Lifestealer being good against what we see so far, I like the pick a lot. And I actually favored RNG's draft for the most part at this stage. Thinking PL counter, Doom's not bad against PL, Lifestealer's pretty good this game. They picked Batrider into PL. I remember seeing this and being like, what the hell? But at this, or they picked Batrider into Lifestealer, excuse me. The thing is, though, it is a support bat, and Bat's really good against Underlord as well as Doom. So just dodge the Lifestealer lane, and this pick makes a lot more sense to you. There's also no save for the Lifestealer, so eventually, like, Batrider can still lasso this Lifestealer. They banned the Viper, which is really nice against Underlord, but that's about it, honestly. So, peculiar ban there. And they banned the Zeus. Zeus is actually kind of annoying for PL. It's also annoying for heroes like Bat that rely on Blink Initiation and the Vision advantage. So it's a fascinating ban there. And Earthshaker. Batrider Earthshaker, pretty hard countered by the Zeus. From the supports are pretty hard countered. And then this last pick actually scared me a bit for Team Nigma, because you just get doomed on Wind Ranger, and your hero just, everything about the hero just sucks. There's a lot of heroes in Dota that when they get doomed, it obviously sucks, but they can still live, they can play Dota reliably. For the most part, Wind Ranger's almost always going to get doomed, and she's just going to die if she gets doomed. So it's weird to pick this last. But Wind Ranger is really nice against heroes like Lifestealer, because they can't hit you, but you can kill them almost single-handedly, maybe with a +1. Also good against Underlord for the same reason. And then they pick the Quap, and the Quap ends up winning the lane really hard. And I honestly think, I've given a lot of reasons for the picks and why I think certain ones are weak or strong, but this is the type of game where I thought the draft was really close, and just watch the game, man. It's just a freaking good game, and I don't think either team had a clear upper hand in the draft overall, and there's a lot of back and forth crazy ass plays in this specific game, so check it out for sure if you're going to watch one game of this tournament. How is DP in this meta? Completely ignored. I have not seen DP at all. I think her long cooldown and lack of mobility on the map is just too much. So going into this next draft, Abad and Omni are now banned. Keep that in mind. Both these teams are prioritizing them very highly. First pick Doom for Team Nigma again. Legion Commander Disruptor. I mean, I'm always a Legion Commander hater. I think this hero is garbanzo beans. That is my opinion. But teams are still picking her, as I said, as the forgotten stepsister of Abad and an Omni. When you can't pick these two heroes and you want a strong dispel, you pick Legion. So they ban out the Lifestealer, I think one of the best heroes in the game against Doom. It's also nice against ET, because ET Aura no longer goes through magic immunity. They ban the Slark. Very good laner against LC. It's kind of funny, in the past LC was considered a Slark counter, but now Slark is willingly picked against LC, and teams still feel the need to ban. This was honestly a respect ban to me, because Disruptor, Legion, I think, are very good against Prophet. I think they were scared of what Prophet represents as a strategy, not as much about the hero itself. So they go for the Wyvern. Nice save for the Legion Commander duel, and also very good against Vengeance in general. We've talked about this already, I believe. Just Venge always represents heavy single target physical damage for her team, and Wyvern obviously counters that in every capacity. They go for the Drow, and then they get PL'd. I thought this draft was the worst draft out of any good team this tournament. You just gave Team Nigma, who has been drafting PL first round, a 4th pick PL into Drow. Super hard counter. Against Venge, single target stun. Super hard counter. Against Disruptor, whose source of catch is Glimpse, which can be doppelganger dodged. Super hard counter. And Legion just really isn't that great against PL, I'm just to be honest with you. People think, oh, you can overwhelming odds the illusions and shit. It's just not very good. So, honestly, GG. I got nothing else to say. I watched this draft and I'm like, if I could bet my mortgage on one game this tournament, it would have been this one. Like, this is the hardest outdraft of any of the good games this tournament, in my opinion. They banned the Huskar. I don't even think this matters, honestly. I can, do the fan service of making sure we see the end of this. TA also very good against Legion, we've already talked about. Very good against Drow, we've already talked about. And by no means bad against these supports. And there is so much weight on this Storm's shoulders to carry this game, and he's against a Doom Wyvern. Guess what, BSJ? If you're against Doom Wyvern and it's your job to solo carry the game, you're going to get Wyvern cursed into Doom, and you're going to lose. So, GG. I don't even want to talk about that game. That draft pissed me off by freaking RNG. That got fucking raffle stomped, dude. 25 minutes, or 23 minutes, excuse me, GG. What a terrible draft. Okay. Going into Game 4. I believe in this game, RNG was really frustrated at this point. First round ban PL. What do you know? Learn their lesson there. Not going to lose to PL again, I believe is that mentality. They ban out the puck. RNG is one of their favorite heroes. They get the Doom themselves. Let's see how Nigma responds to the Doom. Abaddon, pretty classic. You don't want to Doom him, and he saves whoever gets doomed, and they go for the Earthshaker. Seems like they really like Earthshaker against Doom. I think the idea is your teammate gets doomed, and you can Fissure to save them. Like, you can just disengage with Fissure, like stun 3 people and run away. Or you're actually a hero that can help your team burst the Doom before he dooms. So, I think that's why they're picking Earthshaker against this hero. They've picked it a lot so far, so that's best theory craft I got for that one. Omni Knight, obviously RNG's like favorite offlaner this patch, so no surprises there. They ban out the Slark against these heroes we've seen so far. Slark is pretty much the respect 4th ban every single game. So even first round ban some of these games. Ban out the Lifestealer is because that's Monet's hero. It's also very good against these 2 heroes so far. With TA banned and Huskar banned, I don't really think OD loses most of his matchups. And they go for this counter pick in the mid lane of Queen of Pain. And Queen of Pain's pretty nice against Shaker because you can blink away from the Fissure. The problem with this matchup is eventually if Shaker gets a blink before you have like strong items, you just kind of feed. So you have to like not... You have to really keep momentum on Queen of Pain against this type of matchup. Nice against Abaddon too. He never really catches you. And then Drow Ranger. I just think this was a really nice Drow pick. Buffs up the OD. You have the backline saves, disengage. You have the Astral save. It's really good against heroes like Queen of Pain who are low armor and require their skills in order to like not be silenced in order to be survivable. And they go for the Spectre. So I thought Spectre was interesting here because it's really nice against Drow. But Spectre, in my opinion, is just not a good hero. And also rough to play against OD. Just any tanky hero that relies on surviving getting hit, I think is really hard to play against OD. In general, OD is just a really hard hero to play against right now, and pretty much always has been as long as he's a decent hero in the meta. The fact that he's hard to commit onto, and if you don't kill him, you die, like, it's like... What a weird hero to play against. OD is one of my least favorite heroes in Dota conceptually. I think he's really important to the balance of Dota because of these strength beefy heroes require this hero to be out of the game, but it's just so annoying to play 80% of carries against OD. They banned the Wyvern, which they really need some like teamfight setup on RNG right now. And picking a non-dispellable stun is pretty nice when you're against the Abaddon. And then also the physical damage save against the Drow is nice as well. Saves go really well with the Spectre. So they actually banned the Batrider. Kind of an interesting ban because you have the Omni, but I think they were concerned about their own safe lane having real troubles against the Batrider, Spectre, Chen. And they go for the Darkseer. So I was honestly really liking Nigma's draft leading into this last pick, and then they picked Darkseer, and I was like, well, they lost. Darkseer's trash. And I think to myself, the reason why Spectre is not picked as much as I think other heroes are is her laning stage is just fragile, and she loses her tower, and she gets bullied, and you lose control of the map, and you're forced to fight earlier than you want to, etc., etc. And then you picked Darkseer, and you're like, oh, we're just going to give this Spectre absolute free farm. And after they pick Darkseer, man, I understand why you pick it, right? It's another save. It's teamfight combination with Earthshaker. You surge whoever gets doomed, and you can obviously get the Spectre illusion, so that's nice too. there's a lot of conceptual parts of Darkseer that are good this game, but I just recommend never picking this hero yourself. If you're in a pub, you're going to give the opponent carry absolute free farm if you pick this hero. And I think, like, you have to have an incredibly coordinated team to make this work. And quite frankly, RNG was up by 40,000 gold in this game with a Spectre, and they lost. So I heavily favored RNG's draft after this Darkseer pick for all the reasons I just stated. Regardless of everything else that happened, I'm like, oh, Spectre's going to free farm. In that case, it's actually really hard for OD to fight into a mid-game Radiance. Like, it's actually really hard for him to do that because he just gets, like, poked down, and eventually he can't deal enough damage to kill you because you have all these saves with the heals and the Omni Knight. And Drow's really hard countered by Spectre because he can just haunt on top of you. But then RNG is up by 40,000 and loses. So an interesting game to say the least. Kind of just throwy in my opinion from RNG. But even though they won, man, both games I saw, I can't get behind this Darkseer pick. It feels like the opponent team just threw. What I will say is that teams seem to be much more willing, including Team Nigma, and this minor at least, to pick lineups that are going to struggle in the laning stage, but like have an innate way of scaling. So you have like the Darkseer Surge against the Doom, as well as the AoE combo with Earthshaker. That in of itself is what I mean by an innate way of scaling. Drow OD scales as damage in terms of teamfight utility, and save, Darkseer, Earthshaker, great combination as the game goes on. So it's like, yes, their game plan makes a lot of sense with this pick, but God, man, I just can't imagine as an offlaner voluntarily giving the opponent free farm and losing by 2 or 3 levels. It wouldn't work in a pub, is like all I can really feel about that. Like, you have to be an incredibly coordinated team, you have to play around this hero incredibly well, and the player playing Darkseer has to have insanely good teamfight execution to make this hero work. So props to Team Nigma. They do end up taking the minor with this game specifically, but RNG, rough one when they ended up throwing. So that'll be it for my draft analysis, guys. Let's go ahead and queue up some pubs.